Hey, welcome back, everyone. I'm Jared Johnson, the Jared J. With me once again is Talmadge Roger Varnado the third.
Hello, everybody.
Greetings to one and all, and 82 and 6. So today we're going to be doing a new topic, another NBA-related topic. This is one that Talmadge and I have talked about before, as we have conversations that sometimes are not on camera. But this one, we're going to be talking about NBA players who haven't really stood the test of time. And what I mean by that are guys that, if you're pretty much hardcore fans, like I would say that we are and many other people, you're going to know the guys we're talking about. But these are guys whose careers have been over for a while. And if you talk to a lot of casual fans today, they're either not going to appreciate this player's greatness, or you might even get a who. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what do you mean who? And honestly, and this is a little bit different because we didn't get a who, but I'll tell you what kind of made me think of this topic. Years ago, when Talmadge and I worked together at a place that I still haven't said the name of, we were talking one day, and I said that I personally think Elgin Baylor is one of the greatest players of all time. And Talmadge knows who Elgin Baylor is, but he immediately said, he was good, Jared, but now I wasn't get carried away. Then I started quoting stats, and he said, you sure? I said, yeah, man. So that he told me later, he said, that got me on the topic, and I realized so many people forget how great Elgin Baylor is. So that's sort of what spawned my idea for this topic for today. And this is another one that honestly we could do multiple segments on, because
we probably will.
And yeah, that's code for you're probably going to hear this again.
So subscribe.
Yeah, so subscribe, and let's hope you enjoy this one. We got to lay the groundwork now. We're setting expectations. So, all right, Talmadge, go ahead and kick us off with your choice for today.
Okay, I'm going to go with a guy, and I don't have a lot of stats to back it up because I just thought of him. So
okay,
we're going to have to just kind of talk it through and see where it goes.
Well, we can do that.
But I'm going to go with Adrian Dantley.
Oh, man, yeah.
Primarily Utah Jazz, Detroit Pistons, Dallas Mavericks is where he ended his career. Small forward, for those that don't know, around 6'6", 6'7".
Seems about right.
He came along at a time with a lot of small forwards that same size with that same skill set. The Alex Englishes, a guy you're going to bring up later. He was a little bigger, but did a lot of their work on the baseline, but could hit that face-up jumper, could back you down a little bit too. When they got on the offensive roll, were great. Kiki Vandeweghe was another one. Just in the 80s, those small forwards.
Yeah.
Back then, that was really when positionless basketball wasn't as prevalent as it is now.
Oh yeah, not nearly as prevalent.
Right. Every position had like a defined role, and that small forward usually was a guy who could shoot, but also back you down, had a quick first step on the baseline.
Yeah.
Maybe could do some finger rolling as well, and wasn't as interchangeable with the two-guard position as it is now.
Correct.
There were some that could do it, don't get me wrong, but their primary goal or their function was not to be a ball handler like it is today.
Right.
And the three-point line wasn't as prevalent. Mark Aguirre was another one.
Mark Aguirre was a great
score in
one.
the post on that baseline and shoot it a little bit, but they were really going to do the work on the inside.
Like James Worthy. You weren't going to ever put him at two-guard. He was a great small forward in that era.
That's another one. So a lot of great guys. But they all got overshadowed by the Larry Birds of the world.
And the Dr. J's and Dominique Wilkins.
Exactly. But that's what that small forward position was. Dantley was also a great player, I believe, at Notre Dame.
That sounds right.
All-American. So people knew he could score. And like you said, NBA fans know him.
Yes.
But the younger generation especially, his name, you're going to name 5, 10, 15 small forwards probably before you think of him.
Not only before you even think of him, because you go, oh, and Adrian Dantley for a lot of people.
Exactly. And while he did not win a championship with the Pistons, he was a part of those Pistons teams that were just climbing up.
Right before they were championship
because they eventually
teams.
traded Mark Aguirre from Dallas and sent Dantley to Dallas.
That was the big thing.
Exactly. And that kind of propelled Detroit to take that last step. But without Dantley, they don't even get in a position to where they're competing for championships. And that was also back in the day. The NBA's changed to where scoring is up now, but scoring was up back then too. Then in the 90s, it kind of was a defensive league, and now it's become offensive again. But back in that time, it was nothing for teams to average 118, 119,
I was going to say 120,
130.
Yeah. You saw a lot of final scores that were 137 to 122, and it wasn't even like, what happened in that game?
Exactly, and Dantley was clearly in the midst of that.
He was a guy that could light you up at any given moment. And if I'm not mistaken, he led the league in scoring at least once, if not a couple more times.
He was always amongst
the league I was going to say, and when he didn't lead the league in scoring, he was usually top 5 to 7 scores. Exactly. He was a guy that could get you mid-20s to 30 pretty much anytime he wanted to. Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. Since I did not look up the stats, maybe this throwing the name out there will get you guys to go out there and do it.
There you go.
See for yourself. But yeah, loved him as a player and as a name that doesn't get mentioned very often. He is in the Hall of Fame, I believe. But
if he's not, I really want to know why, because he definitely deserves it.
Especially the NBA Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that one day, too. It's the easiest Hall of Fame to get into. Because it's the basketball Hall of Fame.
It's the basketball Hall of Fame.
People like Ralph Sampson are in there. Didn't have the great pro career, but he's
in there in the merits of his college career.
Yeah. And being a first-round pick and all the Rookie of the Year and All-Star MVP and all those kinds of things. So, I believe he's in. If he's not, we'll check it out, and I apologize.
Hey, we can figure that out.
My pick's Adrian Dantley.
Okay. Excellent pick. Definitely a perfect example of what we're talking about. The guy I chose is, honestly, in that same era, and a lot of what you said about Adrian Dantley also applies to the guy I chose, Bernard King. Yeah. I once heard Kenny Smith, because Kenny Smith, if you don't know, is from New York and loves to mention that fact. In fact, I heard Kenny tell Shaquille and Charles one time, he said, "My name's not Kenny. My name is Ken N.Y." And I actually thought that was pretty darn funny. He may not have come up with it in that moment, but I was like, that was
we'll give him credit for it. That's pretty good.
I was like, you know what? That was pretty fast, because I forget what they were jacking with him about, always talking about New York. And then he said that, and I was like, that was actually him. That was a perfect moment. I don't care if he came up with it then or not. That's a perfect moment to pull that out.
I think he figured that like 3 years ago. He was waiting for the perfect
He might have been. And then he's like, indubitably, here's my opportunity.
I'm shooting my shot.
But literally. He played it smooth, just like when he hit 7 threes against Orlando in the finals that time. It was a similar delivery.
Well, again, as a Rocket fan, I'll never forget.
Yeah, as I say, I don't have to tell you about that. But back to Bernard King, since we shifted to the Kenny Smith show here. I once heard Kenny say, as a Knicks fan, he referred to Bernard King as the BK broiler. Because Bernard King, BK, and he's like, he just could broil opponents with his scoring ability.
Kenny likes to play with the alphabet.
He does, indubitably, in fact. But Bernard, 6'7", 205 pounds, played 14 seasons. Pretty substantial career. 77-78 All-Rookie, 4-time All-Star, led the league in scoring in 84-85, and for that season, he averaged 32.9 points and 5.8 rebounds per game. He sustained a very unfortunate knee injury in 85-86. The following year, blew out his knee, I think missed the entire season. He did play 6 more seasons, but was never quite the same. He was still a guy that could hit the open jumper, do some of what you talked about. He adapted, but there was a time, and some people may recoil when I say this, but I'm going to say it with confidence. There was a time where he was a Michael Jordan level scorer.
Oh, there's no question. Look, there are people today that tell you if he hadn't gotten hurt, he's the best player coming out of New York in the history of basketball. And that says a ton.
That says a heck of a lot.
You think of all the great players, Kenny excluded. You think of all the great players that come out of New York, and people, Bernard King is their guy. He's their GOAT. And
that should tell you a heck of a lot about.
And as a teenager back when he played, and it tells you how old I am. We didn't get the games like you get them now. You didn't have league pass. So anytime you got a chance to see Bernard King, you're like, let me see what everybody's talking about. And then I'm gonna use your word, indubitably, he would always come through. Every time you saw him, you're like, okay, this guy's a walking 30 points.
Yes.
And he had a streak, I believe, in the year you're talking about. I don't quite remember exactly how it broke down, but 2 or 3 games in a row of 50 points. It was unreal. He
at least had back-to-back. I know what you're talking about. He at least had a back-to-back 50-point
And I'm just sitting here like, didn't say this, play the same position, but almost Kobe before Kobe. Just get a bucket whenever he wanted to.
He was pretty similar with his explosiveness.
Unreal. Yeah.
Because he wasn't a guy that hit a lot of threes.
Right. And back then the three wasn't.
And back then, a lot of offenses did. Even Larry Bird's one of the best three-point shooters in history, but if you look at the number of threes he actually made, it's a joke compared to today. Not because he couldn't do it. That wasn't a big part of the game back then. Well, I'll put it
this way. I would say from like 80 when the three-point line was instituted to about 84, 85. The only time teams shot threes is last play of the game if they're down by 2 or down by 3. That's it. They would drop a play for the 3. That's the only 3 they would, excluding, end of a quarter, you just throwing up.
You just launch one. But
but back then,
to your point, that's about it.
That was like the 2-point conversion in football back in the day.
Honestly,
we'll use it when we have to, never before
if it's a case where this might help us win the game, we'll take a chance on it. It's not like guys today that they just come down and launch them.
That's the playbook.
Yeah, that's the playbook for a lot of people. So, Bernard, for his career, he did average 22.5 points, 5.8 rebounds a game. Solid career, very good. Yeah. He's one I would love to have seen. What would he have ended up doing without that knee injury? Because, like we said, he was a consistent borderline 30-a-game scorer before that injury. And those of us that remember him, we know how good he was. Yeah. Unfortunately, because of the injury, and just because so many other great players have come along since then, I think time has not been as kind to both Adrian Dantley and Bernard King. And it's really sad because they deserve to be remembered.
Well, and I'll take your pick even further. While Adrian was a good player, in fact, a great player and an all-star level player, Bernard King was thought of by some folks legendary type status. Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, especially like I said, on the East Coast, he was like a basketball
It was like he was on a pedestal to a lot of
So I think you won this one too, because that's a great choice.
So if we're keeping score, but we're really not. Yeah, Chris Black's keeping score. It's 2-0.
2-0, but I will say Adrian Dantley is in the Hall of Fame. He was inducted in 2008.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I did a little research for you in the research department.
On the spot statistician research. Thank you very much, Chris Black.
LSU fans do know something after all.
Jaden Daniels, all right.
That's rough.
Hey, Jaden Daniels is awesome. Nothing to do with the NBA, but if we're talking LSU, I just got to throw
Chris
him
Jackson.
Chris Jackson, Malik Neighbors, Pete Maravich. We're getting out of control, folks. All right. We're going to throw out some other Kelly Tripucka and LSU references in the coming episodes, I'm sure. But hope y'all subscribe for more random Kelly Tripucka and LSU references. What was that guy's name? Stanley Roberts. Yes, I said I had to check. Stanley Roberts. Anyway. Bye, Slamma Jamma. We're shifting gears. All right. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. We clearly have and still are. If you do like the episode, please like it. As Talmadge said, subscribe. It will notify you when I have new content available and help us to continue to bring you this type of content. For Jared Johnson, the Jared J, I'm doing this backwards on purpose because that's the mood that I'm in. This is Talmadge Rogers Bernardo III. Hope y'all have a great week, and we will see you again real soon.